Did you know that everyday people just like yourself are making thousands of dollars per month on Etsy without having to actually make anything or ship anything themselves? A lot of people think that Etsy is just a really small website for small businesses, but they actually sell billions of dollars every single year. And this is Christine. She is a mom of three that works full time, and she's been able to build a really consistent income using a process called print on demand, where she actually makes designs for products and posts them for sale on Etsy, but those items don't actually get made until a customer orders it, at which point her printer, Printify in most cases, actually prints those items and ships them to her customers for her. So this is a process that you don't have to have any design experience or even business experience to get into. So today I invited Christine to join me for an interview so we can hear her story step by step of how she made almost zero sales for her first almost year, and then now in 2024 she has sold over $300,000 in revenue, has sold 11,000 total items on Etsy, and has even made about $7,000 in profit in the last 5 weeks alone. So without further ado, let's say hello to Christine and see what kind of actionable takeaways she can give you so you can start making sales in your own Etsy store today. But if you haven't gotten started at all, I'll also link my free mini course down in the description of how to actually get started selling on Etsy today. All right. Hello, Christine. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. I'm so excited to share your success story on Etsy so the people watching can find some of that same success in their store. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Perfect. Well, let's start from the beginning because we know now that you've sold over 11,000 items on Etsy, which is absolutely amazing. That is a huge milestone. But let's start back from the beginning. So, if someone is sitting there wondering, how can I get started today? How can I make sales in my store? They can follow some of the same actionable takeaways that you have to get their own sales. So, why don't you tell me a little bit about the beginning of your journey, when you got started, and why?
So I got started. I have 3 kids. Two are in travel baseball and one cheers, so it's pretty expensive. So I started just for extra money. I started my shop in early 2022. I didn't really do much with it. It was kind of overwhelming, but I was like, this would be a good idea if I can make the sales, and then it got a little bit overwhelming, and then kids just got busier. Um, but yeah, that's it was really just for the kids, just to pay for sports.
No, that makes a ton of sense. Now it's kind of probably evolved in a little bit more than maybe you even thought it was going to, which is really fun.
Mhm.
And I think what's really interesting about your story is a lot of people think sometimes when they start a store, if you're not immediately successful, that that store is dead and gone and you should just restart. But we know from your story that that's not true because I know you shared that it took you a little while to get your first sale. So you said you started in the beginning of 2022. And
Mhm.
when did you actually get your first sale on Etsy?
It was towards the end of 2022.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it took many, many months to get your first sale. And how much work do you think you put in that first time, that time to get your first sale? Did you have just a couple of listings or a couple hundred listings?
Probably had 200, and I spent a lot of time. I think I spent too much time watching all the YouTube people, you included, like, watching everybody doing, just busy work, not actually doing anything that would get me a sale, just doing busy work, making myself feel like, I was doing what I needed to do. And, yeah, the first sale came and I couldn't believe it, and that kind of got, like, me going a little bit, that's exciting.
Yeah, getting your first sale, you're like, okay, this is real. This is happening. So at that point, that's when you decided you were going to put a little bit more time and work into it to start getting sales, or?
Yeah, I put more work into it, but, I mean, it's a lot of information, and I bought, like, a few other courses, and, like, that helped me, like, get my Etsy shop, like, set up, like, with branding and things, but not actually, like, how to list items and how to list what's for sale or, like, what will sell, So, like, I was still doing busy work until I came across your course, and then it was like, "Oh, now I see what I really need to do to make some sales." Like, now it all makes sense.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that. So, yeah, I looked up when you actually joined my course, and you joined on, I think it was April 27th of 2023 is
Mhm,
when you joined me. And so between when you got your first sale towards the end of 2022 and 20 when you joined my course, I think have a win from you because I love that you shared your weekly wins in our group every week. On 5/26/23, you shared you just hit 800 listings. You said no consistent sales yet, but this has to be a step in the right direction. So you are really putting in the hours at that point to get to 800 listings between, say, like towards the end of 2022 and the fifth month of 2023. So what was that looking like? Because I know you said you changed your strategy a little bit on like what you were selling, and you didn't really start having a bunch of stuff in your store take off till about November of
mhm.
2023. So between May of 2023 and November, what were you kind of focusing on at that time that you think was kind of causing that slow kind of growth?
Group orders and personalized orders. I, um I also work full time and I have the kids, so I get up early every single morning at like 3:30, 4 o'clock to put in all the time that I can to make these listings. Um, but I know like in the course, like you are like group orders, group orders, group orders. You have to do group orders. So I did group orders. I did a lot of, like, family vacation. I worked on teacher, I worked on bachelorette, like, embroidery started to become popular, so I started, like, putting out embroidery group listings for sweatshirts. I started doing research on, like, what was actually selling, like, through Etsy and not, like, I think at the beginning, people were like, "You can do nurse shirts and teacher shirts and mama shirts," and those do sell. Like, I have sold those, I still sell those, but, like, around Christmas time, I would do, like, 1 Mary Nurse, and it's like, there's a million listings. So, I started to do, like, names, like, I put a lot of names on things or dates, a lot of dates. But I think once my sales started to, like, actually, like, gain momentum, it was all personalized group listings.
That's so interesting. And yeah, I have a couple more of your wins that I could share. It was on June 29th, 23. You said you had your biggest sales day yesterday, 19 sales between three group orders. Before that, how many sales do you think you were getting in a day before you started doing the group orders and the personalization? Just like a couple a day, or what was that like looking like?
Oh, if it was a couple, I'd be lucky. Um, yeah, maybe 2 or 3. I it took once I started your course in April, I got my 100th sale, like, if I started, like, at sale 1 when I started your course, my 100th sale in June.
Oh,
So,
wow, okay.
yeah.
Pretty quick turnaround time, your first, like,
Yeah.
2 months, you got, like, 100 sales after joining. Well, and
Mhm.
then I know you shared in July, on July 2nd, you said, "Yeah, I just had a group order of 38 shirts. Is this even real life?" I love that win. Is That's why I love group orders, because if you're brand new and you're getting 1 or 2 or 3 sales a day, that's not that much, but if they're for group orders, you
Mhm.
only got 3 orders that day and you got 19 sales, or on July 2nd, you got 1 order and you had 38 sales in 1 day. I really think that is one really great way. And then I think you even you shared the very next day on July 3rd, 2023, that you got your very first bestseller badge, which is super exciting.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
let's talk about that too, because I know you shared some numbers with me before we hopped on this call. You said in September 2023, you sold 56 items. In October 2023, you sold 265. But then come November, December, you sold over 2,100 items
Mhm.
in your store. That is absolutely massive. So let's talk kind of tangible takeaways, because that's when your store really started to gain traction. What did that look like for you to start selling 2,000 items? What were you focusing on at that time?
I did a lot of research on what was selling, like, through Etsy, through, like, the star seller, go to bestseller hack thing,
Mhm.
and I did that every single day. So as soon as something new like popped up, I'm like, I'm on it. Like I'm gonna start doing like making sales. I have like 5 or 6 fonts that I use all the time and color palettes, and I would just switch them around. Like different layouts. I would maybe put like something on the pocket instead of like in the middle, or put it on a different product, or like embroidery. I would add like something small to the sleeve for embroidery because a lot of people weren't doing embroidery at that time. Um, but as soon as I saw something different pop up, I would make like probably 10 different designs and list them right away. I hardly ever make a design and don't list it. Like I have like if I spend more than 5 minutes trying to make a design, then like that's not my niche, I'm moving on. Like I'm not gonna sell that, that's not my thing. So that's how I mean, I have a lot of listings, like over 6,000 listings. Um, and not, not that many of them. A lot of them sell, but a lot of them are like A/B testing. I do a lot of A/B testing, but those are like listings that took me less than 5 minutes, and I just changed a few things and relisted it. Um, and yeah, it's crazy to talk about it because it at the time, it seemed so hard, and I'm like, "How is this ever going to work?" But, like, looking back, I'm like, "It wasn't that bad." And now that I, like, have a system, it's, like, kinda easy and it's kinda fun. It's not like work anymore, you know?
Yeah, it takes a little bit to get to that point, but I hope that anyone that's watching this at home that is feeling that struggle, is feeling frustrated, is wondering if this is even possible for you. I hope this is really motivating because it didn't happen overnight for Christine either, and it's probably
Mm,
not going to happen that way for you. We're talking about the point in time where, she started at the beginning of 2022. She didn't get, 2,000 sales in like a month and a half period for almost 2 years
yeah.
at that point. And so, it's a long time coming. And so let's talk some tangible takeaways. So, it took you a while to get your first 100 sales and get your first couple hundred sales, and then it really started to roll after that. And so let's talk about kind of what it took in the beginning to get those first, say, couple hundred sales. Did you use Etsy ads?
Yes. Me and Etsy ads have a love-hate relationship. I I I use them, and I started out like $5 a day, $10 a day, whatever it is. And then watching YouTube, saw like people like max out your budget, max out your Etsy ads budget, you'll get the sales. So as soon as Etsy let me, I put it to $1,000 a day. And it sold a lot. I mean, it sold like I was spending like two, three, $400 a day come Q4, and I was getting a lot of sales, but I had other strategies I was doing and I wasn't making like the profit on them. So I spent a lot of time last year and had a lot of sales and didn't make that much money. But also like with 3 kids, I'm really busy, I work, I don't have time to go in there and like work on the ads and see what's selling and take out the keywords that aren't selling. Like if it sold $20 or like if it spent $20 and I didn't sell anything, I'm turning it off. Like that's the only thing that I look at. Um, but when you're getting that many sales that quick, and like I went from like no sales to like a bunch of sales. So like I'm just trying to get the sales and like the orders out, like everything else that's happening, I'm like, I'll figure that out later. Well, later came and went, and my profits went right along with those Etsy ads. But Etsy set me on a budget now. I can't spend more than $100 a day, which I love. Like, thank you, Etsy, for doing that because it knows I would put it back up to $1,000. So now I spend $100 every day on Etsy ads, but I'm actually making a profit on all of my sales, which is amazing. So like now all the work that I put in and the time is actually coming with a profit.
No, and I think that makes perfect sense because Etsy ads are not for the faint of heart. They are a lot of hard work to babysit and to learn and understand. And do you think that running those $5 or $10 in Etsy ads a day in the beginning helped your store take off, or did a lot of your sales come from just organic sales too?
It was I think it was mostly organic. I mean, I think, like, with Etsy, like, if I had to do it all over again, I would work on listing what's selling, and that's I mean, that's honestly all that I would do. What's selling and keep it simple. Like, all the other things, I mean, yeah, they might work, but what worked for me to, like, build momentum, what's still working for me right now is listing what's selling. Like, Etsy sends me us, like, the email that's like, you had this many orders off of ads, but you had this many total orders. Last week, I guess it's by week, or I don't maybe it's by week, I'm not sure. But it was like you had 75 orders with ads and 600 without ads. So I'm like, you know, yeah. Like I'm like, the ads work and I get like how they work and why they work. And if you have a lot of time to like figure them out, you go for it, but I don't. I'd rather have, like, less sales and more profit than more sales and no profit.
Yeah, no, and I'm 100% with you. I think there's a lot of beliefs out there that if you're a brand new seller, you're not going to get seen and you're not going to get any sales unless you're running ads or you're promoting it on social media or you're doing this or doing that. But I think where people are missing the mark, in my opinion, from what I've seen, is they're not doing what you just said, which sounds super simple, but it's not. Is selling, or it is simple, is selling what or listing for what's selling right now on Etsy. So the whole idea with that, because I totally agree with you. I think you could run zero Etsy ads. I think you'll grow faster if once you get sales, you run Etsy ads. I'm not saying don't run Etsy ads, but in the beginning, if you're not getting sales, it's not because Etsy doesn't like you. It's not because the algorithm doesn't like you. It's because you're not listing things for sale that are either one, selling right now on Etsy. People are actively searching for it, actively buying it. You'll know that it's something that's selling right now in Etsy because it'll say 20 plus in people's carts. Other items, other listings for that item will have like say sold 20 plus in the last 24 hours or 3 plus in the last 24 hours. You'll see a lot of things. If you look through all the listings for that niche, at least the top, 10, 20, you should see a lot of those green flags like bestseller badges, so many in the cart. And that's how you'll know that's what people are searching for right now. Or the other piece of it that Christine mentioned earlier is you're not adding enough value. If you're
Mhm.
making a cheap knockoff of that design, it's not going to sell. So you don't have to make a super complicated design. But what I like that you talked about earlier, Christine, is you just make simple
Yeah.
designs. I think people don't believe me sometimes that simple sells, but I love that you have just 4 or 5 different fonts that you use over and over again because you're not procrastinating and searching for a new font for every design. You're finding what works and then just reiterating it over and over again into different niches. So now in 2024, let's talk about what that looks like these days because I have a win to share of yours that we just thought was so fun that you said you hit 10,000 sales in your store. And then just 19 days later, you shared that you hit 11,000
Yeah.
sales in your store. So 19 days, you sold 1,000 items, whereas it probably took you a year and a half to sell your first 1,000.
Definitely.
So I think that's a really interesting time to talk about. So why don't you tell me a little bit about what you did recently that worked really well for you to get those 1,000 sales in 19 days?
I, believe it or not, listed what was selling. That's all that I did. You are so nice and so kind to spend so much time to give us trend reports and the POD roadmap. And I take the PowerPoint, or what is it, the Canva presentation,
Yeah.
I make a copy of it, and it's like you put a design, I add a page, and I make my own design, adding value to what you just had. And I do that 4 or 5 times. And then I go to the next one, and then I go to the next one. And by the time I'm done with this, my own design spreadsheet thing, it's got like Canva's maxed out 500 pages, but like, I'm like, she's telling me what's selling. These are the fonts that I use. These are the colors. I'm going to put it on this, product. I'm going to add it, I'm going to put it on the pocket. I'm also going to put it in the middle. I'm going to add these colors. I'm going to, whatever it is, and then when it's time to list, I just start listing. I have like my Canva mock-up, uh, whatever you call it, template or whatever, and I just add it to them, list. I use the same SEO over and over again for all of them and just list what's selling. And it, I mean, I have right now probably 8 or 9 bestsellers that I listed in November last month. And you tell us what's selling, and I list them as soon as I can.
I
That's
love that.
that's it. Like,
That's it. Yeah, and it can be that simple. I feel like people think there's some kind of secret that they, haven't been told yet and they are still searching for, but it really breaks down that small. So let's break down what Christine just said because I want this to be super clear and easy for you guys at home to take action on. So, um, number one is figure out what's selling right now. So if you're in my print on demand roadmap course, which there's a link down in the description if you're interested, I give monthly trend reports where I give you a couple hundred items that are selling right this very second that you can list for in different categories. So not just clothing, I post for other categories as well, but the niches in general sell. But if you're not in my course, what that would look like is going to Etsy and just searching through. Like what I like to do to build those trend reports is I'll type in the product I'm selling. So shirt, sweatshirt, mug, whatever product you're selling. I'll type just the basic word into the Etsy search bar, and then I'll either sort by most recent to see what most recently sold, or I'll just search through them and just click through hundreds of listings to find what's selling right now that's like new. You can even use an Everbee search tool to sort by like maybe listings that are just a couple months old that are selling really well right now. That can kind of speed up the process. But whether you're using the trend reports in my course, which obviously makes the work a lot easier for you, or you're finding them yourself, the whole idea is figure out what's selling really well right this second, and then make a design and post it for sale as fast as possible because it's selling right now. So, like Christine said, you're not overthinking it. You're not waiting weeks to post it. You're not deciding not to post it because it's not good enough because you never know what's going to sell. And that's the process. Just repeat, rinse, repeat. So let's talk a little bit about, or would you add anything? Is that kind of, you think, a good breakdown?
yeah. I mean, I did that myself in 2023. That's how I got a lot of the sales. Um, but I mean, it's 1,000 times easier, of course, having you do it. But also I think like some of the things that are selling, you can't make with print on demand, like they're handmade. And so like a bestseller I have right now was one that you put on the trend report that's handmade. We can't make it for POD, but I just did what I could with what POD offers and, made a design out of it and it's a bestseller. And it's just like thinking just a tad bit out of the box. Like this is selling for handmade. How can I make this POD and still like keep the, whatever people are buying it for? And it works. I mean, that it's
Yeah.
easy, but yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy
So
how easy it is, but it works.
one sweatshirt I sold one Christmas, I think it sold 800 times, was a design I got inspiration for from a Christmas card on Etsy.
Yeah.
So I do think finding inspiration of, again, what's selling on Etsy, that's always the number one thing that you have to filter everything through is this selling today on Etsy really well? That's the number one must have. But
Mhm,
beyond that, things can cross products. Like if you see something selling really well on a sweatshirt, like a particular niche, if you're selling mugs, it might also sell really well on mugs because people are looking for a gift for that type of person. Like let's just say a pickleball sweatshirt. People are probably buying that as a gift for people. You can make pickleball mugs if there aren't any. And when people type in gift for pickleball lover, they're finding your mugs, right? So it's just figuring out what niche is selling well on Etsy. And then you can kind of add value in different ways. And I loved how you talked about adding value with like design placement.
mhm,
And so
yeah.
like doing sleeve prints if there's not sleeve prints now and things like that. So that's what it's called, is adding value. Do you have any other advice on like how you learned to add value? Because I think that can be really intimidating when you're first getting started.
When I first started, did I spent way too much time designing. Like I used a lot of graphics And I think once I wrapped my head around like keeping it simple and like adding value with like I sell a lot of personalized things. I spend a lot of time personalizing orders to send it out. I don't know how many people are, willing to do that, who do that. Um, but if you just add like a name or a date or an initial or a place, that sometimes that's all it takes. Like you could put like NICU nurse, on the right, and like NICU nurse Sarah on the left. And people will buy the Sarah one just because it says Sarah, and they could put like Cassie or Christine or whoever on it. Like people will buy it, and that's all it takes is just making it, I think, to what people like personalized. They come to Etsy, I feel like, for personalized. So if you can just add like something a little bit different than everybody else, I think that's all that it takes. Like not the design, not the graphics, just words and something that like touches, the person who's buying it or the person who's going to receive it.
Yeah, I love that. So I know you talked earlier about like group listings. So is that one of your strategies as well? As you're looking at a niche, and if it doesn't have group listings available, like matching items, that you add those, or do you mostly make group matching designs for niches that already also have group matching designs?
Um I think a little bit of both. Um I always give them the option to add. Like I usually will list it with like a place or like the most likely
Mhm.
to that people do. But people will message me and say like, "Can I put um, you know, Jack's 40th birthday instead of most likely to?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you can do that." So then they'll order it off, I'll make them a new listing that says like Jack's 40th birthday, and they'll buy it off of that. And now all of a sudden people are buying like 40th birthday Lake group shirts, and it's like, that wasn't so bad, but I would have never thought about that. Um, or like Christmas, they'll do wherever they're going to have like a family Christmas, I'll just put like Johnson, family Christmas, let's say, for the matching. And they're like, "Can I add, Lake so and so at the bottom?" And I'm like, "Sure." So then I make a new listing and it says Johnson Family Christmas with the design. And then it says Lake XYZ. And then they buy that one. And now all of a sudden people are buying Johnson Family Christmas Lake shirts. So it's like they tell you what they want to buy. It's up to you if you're going to make it and sell it to them. Like you don't have to, but they're going to tell you what they want. And if one person wants it, I'm sure a lot of other people want it. They do want it. I can tell you because that's how I got 11,000 sales.
And I think that's a super good point, because a lot of people would try and get people to buy the first listing and then do the customization on the back end. But I think that is a really good tip, that if someone asks you to make something, make a brand new listing with
Mhm.
that design for them. Because then, like you said, if other people want to buy it, I know I've gotten a bunch of random professions from doing that. They're like, "Oh, can you make me this design, but for this random profession that I'd never heard of?" I think one of them was like a nuke med nurse or something. I don't even remember what it was. It was like a blood nurse. I can't even remember. And I posted it, and it wasn't my next bestseller because it was so niche, but it sold like 20 or 30 times over
Mhm.
a year or two. And those are 20 or 30 sales I wouldn't have gotten if I didn't make a new listing and
Mhm.
just post it for sale. So I think that was a really good actionable tip that you gave there. I think that's really, really helpful. And so, I think that, all in all, you have now sold how much in total revenue on Etsy with your 11,000 sales?
$250,000.
And that is with shipping or without shipping?
That's without. With shipping, oh, $301,000.
Wow. So that's your total revenue. That's amazing. And then I know you said you had a really, really good Q4 this year. I think you said you've sold a pretty good amount just between November and December. So in the last like 5 weeks or so, in the end of the year, if someone were to really put in the work and make a bunch of listings for what's selling right now on Etsy. How much do you think you've made actually in take home profit in the last, say, like 5 weeks or so?
Probably $7,000. And
Wow.
that's like I give an average of $5 profit per item that I sell. Um, but with group orders, you pay less on shipping the second, and somehow it works out to where you make more money, which is also why I love them. So it's probably more, but for easy math, I say $5 per product or per, I guess, item that I sold. So yeah, right around $7,000.
That's life changing.
Yeah,
5 weeks, 7,000 extra dollars on the side. And again, you are still working full time
yeah, I work
and
full
still have
time.
3 kids.
Mhm. Yeah. But it gets easier, like, which is why I love it, is at the beginning, I spent so much time watching YouTube, doing all the things, which when you're trying to put everything that everybody is trying to say together, it's like, "Whoa, like, this is too much, I can't do it." So, I said, "I'm not gonna watch YouTube people anymore, like, I bought your course. I trust you. Whatever you say is what I'm going to do." So that's what I do. I keep all my listings simple. If it takes me more than 5 minutes to make a design, I'm not going to do it. Like 5 minutes is my cutoff. If it takes more than 5 minutes and it doesn't look good, or I can't figure out like placement or anything, that's not my niche. I'm moving on. Um, so, like, I had to put myself together a system and a routine that I could do with working full time and having 3 kids, but still listing because that's all you have to do. Like, if you don't list, you don't sell. So my goal is to list as much as I can, but I do it in a way where it's, like, simple for me. It's not stressful, it's not hard. I mean, it's actually fun. Like, who would get up at 3:30 in the morning if it's not fun, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah, no, no, I wouldn't. I think it's fun. I still wouldn't get up at 3 in the morning. So you have some hard work and determination. So yeah, so, so proud. So is there any other kind of last minute things that you'd say to add to what your system looks like now for someone who's sitting there at home? I think a lot of people watching this, if I had to guess, and I don't mean to read your minds, guys, but I'd guess that what she's saying probably seems crazy to you, that you probably do overthink a lot. So, like, if you're watching this, be honest. How long does it take you to decide what niche to design for it, and then list it for sale? Try and calculate that in your head. So, you at home watching this, how long do you think that process takes you? Be honest. Is that days? Is it weeks? Right? So, Christine, what does that look like for you? How long does it take between deciding what to design for, designing for it, and listing it?
Um, with your trend reports, you whatever you put is what I list. Every once in a while, I'll go and look and see what else is out there. Um, I haven't done that in probably 2 months. Um,
Busy.
yeah, busy, but, um, if it takes me more than 5 minutes, I don't list it. So, I will probably make 50 designs, and then it probably takes me an hour maybe to list them because I already have the SEO, um, to make them. I mean, they're really just words usually. I do use Creative Fabrica if I need graphics, but I scroll like 20 pages down, so I'm not using the same graphics I see everybody else. That's actually one of the family vacation bestsellers I have was a graphic, and literally scrolled Creative Fabrica probably 5 minutes to find this graphic, and I was like, I haven't seen this before. This is a lake retro kind of thing, and it was a bestseller. That's one of the reasons I don't like graphic because I feel like they all look the same. So I'm like, maybe if I just put words, I'll stand out against like all the graphics and busyness on all of the other mock-ups and like the listing. So I just keep it simple. Use the best-selling mock-ups that you give us or like you tell us to use. Like you make it simple. Like not me. You make it simple.
I appreciate that, Christine. I try to make it as simple as possible. And I hope that if you're watching this at home, whether you're in my course or not, I hope that you are feeling the fact that it is really simple. It's not easy because
Not
it takes time to learn it, but it is all simple. It's like, look at what's selling on Etsy, make your own versions of it. Make, say, 8 to 15 versions of a design for that one niche that you found. Post them all for sale with the same SEO as quickly as possible. Because if that niche is already selling, sure, maybe not all 8 to 15 of those designs are going to sell, but if just one of them can take off, it can really make a huge difference in your store.
and
So I think that was,
use all the
go for it.
resources. Use all the resources you have. Like that's a there's like a best-selling ornament that has like a poem for a teacher on it. And you can't use it, you know? So I was like, I'm gonna put in ChatGPT, make me a poem similar to this, and I gave it like a list of like 10 different professions, and then I just posted those. So like ChatGPT gave me like, you know, let's say 50 different variations of a poem for 10 different professions, and I listed them, and I sell a few each day. And it's like, I didn't come up with that idea. Somebody else did. They're selling it. ChatGPT gave me the poem, and now I'm selling it. They gave me the professions list. I said, "What's the top 10 professions that I should use this for?" They gave me the little poem thing, and I listed it. That's it. With the fonts that I use every time. Like,
Actually, that's a question I forgot to ask you earlier that I'm sure people watching this recording will want to watch is what products do you sell in your store?
shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, and I just started ornaments this year because of Podzilla. But I didn't sell any ornaments last year, and they're my best seller this year. 95% of my sales are probably ornaments.
Wow. Yeah, that's a huge percentage. And for anyone watching that doesn't know what Podzilla is, that is the printer that you get exclusive access to if you're in my course, the POD roadmap. So that's what Podzilla is. So if you join the course, you do get access to them. They have the Libby glasses with the laser engraved lids and
Yeah,
are a little bit different and less expensive than the ones on Printify. Mugs, the skinny tumblers, and the ornaments with gift boxes. And so
key, the gift boxes. That's why I was like, "Ooh, I'll do gift boxes," you know? People might like that, and it that does work. People, I think, do like it if you put gift box, you know?
yeah, I think gift boxes are great. So yeah, I think this was super helpful. So you've run ads, but you don't think that's the end all be all. You think the number one thing that if someone's not getting sales is that they need to simplify their designs,
Mhm.
figure out what's selling right now, make bunch of designs for it and post them immediately. Is that what you'd say your best advice is, or any other last minute words of wisdom to someone who's not getting the success they want just yet?
No, I think that's it. Add personalization if you can, and if you have the time. I mean, it does take a lot of time, but there's resources out there for that too. But yeah, keep it simple and just list. I have thousands and thousands of listings, um, but they're easier now. So, it's kind of like churn and burn. I know what I'm gonna put on it. I have 5 fonts I'm gonna try. I put it on the mock-up, move right along. And don't become attached to the listings. The the ones that I have like best sellers right now, I'm like, that's a weird thing. It doesn't really look right. And I think one of them turned into a bestseller within a week. And I'm like, I would never buy that for myself. But hey, people like it.
Yeah, I remember you posting in the group that you had a win, that you posted something from the trend report, and a week later you had sold it 67 times and had a
Yeah.
bestseller badge on it, I think.
Yeah. And that I think that's one of the ones that was handmade. It was handmade, like we couldn't make it with POD. And I was like, I'm just gonna do as much as I can, with POD. And it sold, like, I probably sell 40 of them a day now, and
That's amazing.
I would never buy it for myself, but it's something that, like, people can give. It's like a easy gift, and I mean, that's what people are looking for right now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Gifts all year round sell super well. So not even just for Q4. For anyone who's watching this, obviously the holiday season has kind of ended, but coming into Valentine's Day, a little hint from the most recent trend report in my group is there's a ton of stuff that's selling ridiculously well right this second for Christmas that's also going to sell really well for Valentine's Day. And that is just like gifts for boyfriends, girlfriends, wives, and husbands. If you can put a filter on your eyeballs and only make listings that would be a good gift for a girlfriend, wife, boyfriend, or husband over the next couple of weeks, you could end up having a huge January, February because you're selling, let's say it together, what's selling right now.
That's all that it is. It's so somebody needs to like, I'm gonna make a shirt. Sell what is selling right now. That is it.
Yeah.
List what is selling right now.
Yeah, I love it. We'll make up shirts. We'll put them in the description. You guys can all buy them. No, just kidding. No one's gonna buy a shirt, but it is a good reminder. Get a post-it note, put it on your forehead. Only be posting listings for things that are selling right now or about to be selling in a couple of weeks, like for a holiday or appreciation day. But I think with those tips, like it really can be that simple. So, Christine, thank you so much for joining us and sharing all of your information. And for anybody who is in the print on demand roadmap, Christine is going to be joining us on December 17th on our live call in
Yeah,
the private community to do an Ask Me Anything with us. So thank you
yeah,
again
I'm
for,
excited. You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
yeah, I think everyone's going to be so excited to hear what else you might, share and if they ask more specific questions. So I appreciate your time and you have a great rest of your day. And thank you everyone watching at home.
Yeah, thanks so much.